All right, let's go to Will in St. Louis. What up, Will? How we doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, dude. What's happening?
Not too much. Thanks for having me. And I've been listening to you ever since you took your first call on the Ramsey show.
For real?
Yeah.
Dude, right or die,
Ramsey
man.
for a while, and I've listened to every episode of your podcast, and
dude,
really
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. My mom doesn't even listen to that many, man. You're like in the Sons of Anarchy gang, dude. I appreciate that. So what's up, man?
So my question today is, how do I balance the need to provide financially for my family along with the need to be present for them? Background is I am married for 12 years. I have 3 kids who will be 6, 4, and 2 over the next few months. I grew up in a very financially unstable household. We were a blended family. I am one of 7 siblings. My dad was a self-employed mechanic for most of my childhood and was the sole income provider for my family. My stepmom stayed home to take care of the family. My dad never made much money. It was never talked about directly with us, but the signs were there now that I'm older and I think about it. And I know that I know my parents filed bankruptcy at least twice, maybe before I was a teenager.
Nice.
I never went without food, but now that I'm older and I looked back and I think about what we ate and everything, it was because it was very cheap meals.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. I want to make sure you know this is not a math problem. And what I mean by that is this. It's very easy to look back and say, we had money problems as a kid, and so now I'm going to struggle with when is enough, how much money do I make, all those, but those are math problems questions. I need you to know, in a home with a bankruptcy, that's like living in the middle of a hurricane. And so money has made its way into your soul as the reason why dad's always angry, why mom won't talk to me, why brother and sister are always fighting. Like, you see what I'm saying? So it grows tentacles into all these different aspects in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I kind of don't need to finish the rest of my story now.
Sorry. So I can't, when somebody says bankruptcy, like it's like dropping a bomb in somebody's home. And doing it 2 and 3 times, the shame, the failure, I'm not the dad I could have been. And most dads of that generation didn't have the skills to say, hey guys, my business fell through. What they had the skills to do was to sit down in the recliner and yell and scream or be silent, right? And then moms, like, my husband's a loser and I got to deal with this and I'm stuck with these kids. All of that energy gets transferred into kids. And they're left wondering, what did I do to screw this house up?
Yeah. My dad was never, I don't remember him being angry. It was more, he'd get up at like 4 a.m., go to work all day, come home at like 8 or 9, eat dinner, and then fall asleep on the couch. Like, we never did anything because he was always working. And when he was home, he was sleeping.
Right.
So, and
you know that, okay, we talk about your old man all day. I want to talk about you. Okay. So tell me where you are right now.
So I learned from a very young age I needed to work to basically provide for myself. I mean, I was 12 years old and I was mowing lawns, delivering papers.
Same here. Same here.
I was making close to $600 a month as a 12-year-old.
Wow.
Just hustling. Fast forward to now, I got married at 20 to my high school sweetheart. She came from an upper middle class family.
Is she awesome?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
All right.
She came from an upper middle class family, and I thought it was my responsibility to provide for her on this. So she had the same lifestyle growing up. And then we did that the wrong way. Got into a lot of debt. And fast forward for the first 10 years of our marriage, the last couple, we've been working on getting out of it.
Okay.
But when my oldest was born, that year I was on track to make about $28,000 to $30,000, and I took a job that jumped it up to $70,000. but that also came with a lot of work and a lot of travel. This year, I'm on track to make 130.
Okay.
But I have this need in my head that it's not enough, and I want to call it a pathological need to make sure that we don't go backwards and my kids don't experience the childhood that I did. And I can't get emotional. I can't figure out when to stop. And
yeah, dude. So I'm holding this up here. Like, I wrote down on my notes, while you were talking, you need a metric for enough. When is it? That's the note I wrote myself. Okay. So you're already there. Let me tell you what happened in my house. Okay. Cause you and I have a very similar story. My dad never declared bankruptcy, but he was a policeman, and then he switched over to become a minister. And so, we were hounded by money my whole life. Okay. This idea, and I, like you, I was working since I was 11 or 12, mowing lawns, and working maintenance at the local church. And I was always just doing odd jobs all over the place. This year, so I spent the last 20 years of my life working in education in some shape, form, or fashion, whether university or public schools or whatever. And the last couple of years when I took this job with Ramsey Solutions, it's the first time I've ever had the opportunity to, the more you work, the more we'll pay you. Like, the more you create things and help other people that bring revenue in, the more you can make. And I felt like a dragon was unleashed in me. And it was this past, you may have heard me say this, I may have talked about this on this show. It was not this Christmas, but the last one. I went downstairs, I was sick, I was trying to get my workout in, and my wife came down and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I gotta work out, because then I gotta go do this, and then and she said something that was kind of a shapeshifter for me. And I've spent the last year trying to figure out how to live out of what she said. Okay, here's what she said. She said, if my life is a pie chart, your good looks, that part of the pie chart is full. Any pathological, psychotic workouts that you need to do above that is because of your ego, not because of me. And I always thought I need to be in great shape for my wife. That was a story I carried with myself. She won't love me if, right? And then she said, and while we're here, you've written 2 books, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. We've made more money in the past however many months than our families could have ever wrapped their head around. And you won't stop. And then she said this, the we need more money bucket is completely full. Anything beyond this is about you and your ego and what you think you need. Do not blame us. And dude, that shook me to my core. Because I was doing all this hustling and running, hustling under the guise of I'm providing for my family, and I never want my kids to experience what I experienced, right? Same as you. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here is I want to short circuit a year of your life for you so that I can tell you where I've landed right now. And I want you to know, like, I've met with wise people. I've gone to visit people. I've read books. My wife and I have had retreats. I've done all the stuff, right? Ultimately, you and your wife have to sit down and do the hard work. And it's harder than just going to getting another job. It's asking yourselves, what life do we want to create for our family? And that is, what kind of house do we want to have? As a dream, what kind of house would be great, would be fun? How do we want to feel every day? Like, what kind of energy do we want in our home? Do we want an electric energy? Do we want a warm and peaceful energy? What are we going for here? And then the hard work for a guy like you and for a guy like me is we have to then say, okay, I've got to stop working so much because that's cutting into what we both decide we want for our lives. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other magic is, and Dave Ramsey's helped me a lot with this, is keeping in mind the ratios. Because if you're not careful, your life will just continue to expand with the more money you make. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, can you get a raise and keep your lifestyle the same? I can't. I actually have to intentionally step my lifestyle down a notch. I've got to go backwards a little bit. And so every time we have a success, I'm going to actually buy fewer things that next month. And that just helps me keep myself honest. That's just the way I've learned to manage it. But can we keep our life can we stay a Camry or Corolla family through the next raise and the raise after that and the raise after that so we can build actual wealth? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of this circles around that word that is, we do not have a psychology for in our culture, and that's enough. Everything is built on growth, getting bigger, getting more. Can you expand? Are you going to buy a business? Do you have a rent house yet? We do not have a word in our culture for enough because that word feels like failure, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So let me ask you, do you have an emergency fund?
No, we're still paying off debt. I'm down to about $30,000 left out of 120.
That's incredible, dude. Dude, just for a second, applaud yourself, man. That's incredible. Now, I will tell you, this is my personal opinion. If you owe somebody money, actually, I think it's science. Your body won't let you rest because it knows. It knows you're not safe. It knows that it takes one layoff, one car wreck, one something, and you are right back where you were when you were 12. I believe that with all my heart, that you cannot be fully without anxiety until you owe nobody any money. So what I'll tell you is keep your foot jammed into the floor until you get that money paid off. And I'm going to tell you to keep that sucker running until you have an emergency fund because I've been with you where you are. And until I've got some money that I feel safe I can sit on for a minute, then I keep feeling like I got to grind. So you're on the right path, my brother. You're right there. You're right there. But I'd love for you and your wife to begin to have what do we want this thing to look and feel like? And how do we build that world? Because it might be that you go back to making $70,000 or $100,000. When you owe nobody anything and you have a full emergency fund, you can kind of do what you want. How does that sound? How does that sound? Does that sound crazy?
It does because I don't know if I can. I don't know how to switch that part of my brain off. Like
you got to. It's not a switch. It's not a switch. Stop thinking of it that way. It's not on or off, and it's not like a puzzle piece you're trying to find. This is training your body because your body loves you, dude, and it's trying to take care of you, and it remembers having nothing. It remembers the fights and the angst and dad that was never home. And if I don't want to talk trash about your old man, but it was an addict. He was addicted to work. He was actually addicted to being busy because he spun his wheels really, really hard. He just never went anywhere. Right? And that tells me he was a really hard worker and also did not listen to wisdom. Was a really hard worker and didn't have anybody in his corner with him that was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it like that? Why don't you do this? Because that's a guy that you point in the right direction with some grip on the tires and he's going to go really far, really fast. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
So your body knows all that and it's just trying to keep you safe, man. And so what you have to do, it's not a matter of finding a switch. It's a matter of slowly over time teaching your body, yeah, that was not safe. And I've got $40,000 in the bank. I don't owe anybody anything. We're good. And if the air conditioner goes out, the biggest fight my wife and I are going to have is who's going to call the repair person. Not, can we eat this month? And when your body takes off on you, you're going to practice feeling it and going, oh man, there it goes. Yep, I do. I owe $30,000 in credit cards or student loans or whatever I borrowed. I'm going to get that knocked out. And then you're going to go about getting it knocked out. I will also say this, my brother. I think that the word balance is a myth. I don't think it's real. I don't think it exists. I have found great success in my life living by seasons. There's just seasons when I got to wear a coat because it's freezing. There's just seasons when sun's out, guns out. I don't wear sleeveless shirts just because that would look like an idiot. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's just different clothes that you wear for different seasons. And so you're in a season right now where your body is screaming at you. We're not safe. We owe people money. Awesome. Listen to it. Run. Get that stuff paid off as fast as you can. Your kids are going to be okay if you sacrifice one more year of grinding it out so that they can have the rest of their lives with parents who are stress-free when it comes to money. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. And if you were able to get around town in a used Camry or a used Accord or a used pickup when you were making 28 and 30,000, you can get around town with the same truck when you're making 130,000 when you're trying to meet other goals. You don't have to move up to another car. You don't have to move up to whatever. My dirty little secret is when I was making $33,000 a year, I had a 2001 truck. And now that I'm making way more than $30,000, I have a 2006 truck. And I'll buy something new at some point, but right now that's just getting me to work it back and I'm fine. And so I'm not letting my lifestyle grow concurrently with the money I'm making because I want to change my family tree. I want to change my legacy. And all that started with a conversation my wife had with me and said, we have enough. Stop running. I want my husband back. Whew. And that's a hard lesson, my friend. It's not a switch, something that you practice. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future. I want you and your wife to read that together. And I'm also going to send you all the questions for humans cards for the kids. And I want you to practice not being a dad who works so hard he just collapses every day and gets up and goes again. I want you to be a dad who practices talking to his kids at breakfast and surprising them on Saturdays and engaging with them for breakfast or for dinner or for whatever, and learning how to have conversations with them so you learn to love being in their presence and they love learning to be in yours. Cool. Thank you so much, my brother.